Welcome to two-sided machining using VCarve Pro. One of the features that came out with VCarve Pro 9 was the ability to do two-sided machining. And we have a project that we're going to be working on, creating stop blocks that can be used with uh, T-channel aluminum or a T-channel jig that we're going to be creating. Uh, and I'm just going to give a quick overview and then we're going to start with our design. First of all, we have the two views of the 3D view. This is what it will look on the top, and that is how it's going to look on the bottom. And to machine this, first of all, on the deck of the desktop right there, we have two index holes, one on each side. It's going to be flipped over like this, lengthwise. And these are the holes that are to be used for the T-bolts. Next, these are the arrows, the directional arrows, which way they'll line up in the T-slots. Again, there's the other indexing hole right there. And first of all, this is going to be screwed down. You're going to drill all the way through your oak material, all the way into the spoil board, and that's where the dowel pin will go. And these are our arrows, and that will be the first thing we'll be creating. Next, we're putting a little bit of a bevel. You can see right there, we're creating a little bevel on the sides of each one of these blocks. That's done with the same V-bit, but with a profile toolpath. And this is the top already done. It's ready to be flipped down. And you see there, right there will go a dowel, which is right there. And then we're fasten that back in. Once we've flipped and secured that piece, we're going to start machining the bottom side. And the first thing you'll be doing is you're going to be pocketing out the middle. Of course, that screw is not to be put in until the pocketing is done. And the purpose of that screw is to give some additional support when we start doing the cutouts of on the blocks. So we'll be doing a toolpath just for the center. Once that center is done, we're going to be putting a screw in the middle to secure that. And then the pocketing has been done already for all these, and then the cutout has been done with the tabs. And because there's not too much holding everything together, the tabs are a little bit thicker than normally you would do. After that's done, you can either cut out your stop blocks with a miter saw, band saw, jigsaw. Make sure when you're using these power tools to cut the tabs that you are operating that machine safely, making sure that your hands are nowhere near the cutting and that you have enough material to support against the fence, for example. If you need ever extra, leave a little extra on this one side, do so. Remember this safety, always be careful. ABCs of safety. And this is another one of the projects for the Shotbus certification. It's going to be a T-slot that can be put on any type of spoil board. And this is what these stop blocks are for, to help position your material, help it hold it in place. Then you're going to be also creating the hold down clamps as well. But let's get started with creating the arrow. And that's where we're going to start first. And we're going to create, we've created a setup here of 3x3 with 0.75. It's going to be single-sided. And the lower left-hand corner is our datum position, standard modeling resolution. We're going to click OK. And I've designed one of these arrows already, but we're going to go ahead and create your own right here, and I'm going to walk you through it. First of all, we're going to have the anchor point on the lower left-hand side on this, and we want X to be 0, and Y, we want to be at 1.8, and we're square, and the width of this first rectangle we're going to create is going to be 1.67. and the height is going to be 0.60, and we're going to create that. That's exactly what we want. We're going to close that, and then we're going to mirror that object. Make sure we're going to create a mirrored copy, and we'll do it to the bottom. We're going to close that. And now we're going to change the dimensions on that by setting the selected object size under transform objects. And we want the anchor point to be up in the lower left-hand corner. And the width of this is going to be 1.13. And the height is going to be 1.16. And we're going to apply there. Okay, that's looking good right there. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and select this. We're going to go ahead and center both of these. Selecting that again, and we'll center that. Okay, so we've got those centered. And then I'm going to click in this gray area. And if I click in the gray area and hold down on my mouse key, I can drag out a guide. Help us right here. This is 3 inches. Half of 3 is 1.5. That's exactly what we want. So first of all, we're going to create the rectangle portion of that arrow. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to node editing mode. Now, most of you that have been using node editing, you know it's a lot easier just to press the N key, and that's what we'll do to get out of node editing. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure that these are clicked, they're on. And I want to make sure keep those on. This is going to give a snap feature, and it's also going to be smart snapping. That way, when I get it over to the guideline, it's going to go right there. And it's going to snap right to that guideline. Now I'm going to go right over here to the other node. Now I'm going to just delete that point. Boom, we've got the arrow right there. And I'm going to get out of node editing by clicking N. And I'm going to click twice on my bottom rectangle there. And I'm just going to pull it up just a little bit in there. It doesn't move from the bottom, but just to increase the height of that. And then I'm going to select by holding the shift key down my rectangle. My triangle, excuse me. My apologies there. Then we're going to go over to weld selected object, and everything is welded together there, so it's one continuous vector. And now we want to create an offset there, and this offset will be 0.1 of an inch and went outward. And we don't want sharp offset corners, and so I'm going to click offset right there. That's looking pretty good. And then I've got my VCarve right there. I just want to see how that's going to look. So if I hold the mouse key down and go from right to left, anything I touch is going to be selected. And I'm going to calculate. And we're going to preview that selected arrow. That looks really good. So now we're going to leave that there. I'm going to click G to group. And now that will be ready to be copied once we start the two-sided machining project. And we're going to be doing that in just a minute. You just saw how these stop blocks look. Now you will see how to design and toolpath them for yourself. So we're going to start out in creating a new job. And notice what's going to happen as we click on some of these things. First of all, we want a double-sided layout. Width is going to be 24 inches and height is going to be 2.5. By the way, these and 0.75 for thickness. By the way, you can get the oak that we're going to be using for the stop blocks at Home Depot or Lowe's. It comes in 2.5 width and usually comes 4 foot or 6 foot in length, easy to cut into 24-inch pieces. We want the Z0 position to be at the material surface. XY datum, lower left-hand corner. And now there's a new item that will appear once you click double-sided, and this is the way we're going to want to flip our project. Modeling resolution are going to be standard, and we are going to click Okay. The first thing we want to do is we're going to start designing on the top here. And one of the first things we want to create are the holes for the index. And these holes are going to be drilled through the 3/4 inch oak into the spoil board, and that's where your index pins will go. First of all, we're going to click on draw a circle, and we want that X location to be 0.75. Very critical on this. Y right here in the middle, 1.25. We want a diameter of 0.25 on that. And we're going to click create. Now we're going to make another hole, same diameter, but we're going to have it on the other end, and we're going to subtract 3/4 from 24, and that'll give us 23.25. And we're going to create another circle, and that's where our indexing pins will go. Now we're going to create the hole that the T-bolt is going to go through for each one of these finished blocks, and when they're done. And for this one, we are going to want to create a hole that's going to have a diameter of 0.32, and we're going to have it the same Y, but we're going to have that at 2.7 inches from the end, and there we have created that hole right there. Now, we're going to want to use the offset layout array copy, and right there we want to create 7 columns, and that's going to be right here, 7, 1 row, and the gap we don't want to, we want an offset, because we're going to go from center of circle to center of circle, and that is going to be 3.1 inch. And notice right there, I've got the offset already in there, 3.1, and we're going to copy, and that's perfect. Now what we want to have is we want everything to be perfectly centered, and that's what it is. Now if I close this right here, and I selected all those right there, try it again, and I click center, there'd be absolutely no movement. They are right in the center. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the arrows that we created. But first of all, let's go ahead and select all these, and these are all on layer 1. And we're going to rename that layer, and we're going to name that layer T-bolt holes. And we'll leave that at black. Now that we've created those circles, we want to go ahead and bring in the arrow that we created. So we're going to go into that file. Just a matter of selecting it, Control C to copy. We're going to go into our project file right here and Control V to paste. Now we want to center that right on that circle there. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and then I'm going to select over here. It says Center Objects on the last selected objects. Perfect. Now we're going to be rotating those arrows. Otherwise, we could do a group copy on all of those. So we're going to create. Notice that we have got an arrow, a layer that's been added there. Now we're going to add a new layer, and that layer is going to be the perimeter top. We're going to call that perimeter top, and we're going to give that a different color and give it a brown. And we want that to be our active layer, so that's what it is. And we're going to create a rectangle. And right now we're going to, that width is going to be 2.25 and 2.75. And I'm just going to click any place. That's perfect, exactly where it's at. Okay. I'm going to close this. I'm going to hold the shift key down as I click that circle, and then we're going to center that again. And that's perfect. Now you're probably wondering, why is that line going outside the material width? Well, you're going to see why that is, because we want to create a bevel on both sides, but I want to have this flat, and this end we're going to cut so it's flat. But right here, we're going to keep this so it's flat right here. And so I have to have, when it's going to make its rounds, where it's doing that perimeter profile with a V-bit, I want it to be not touching that wood. Okay, so we'll go back to our drawing. So now we have all those components that we need for the top. And so I'm going to go here and I'm going to right click and select the going from right to left. Everything I touch with that mouse is going to be selected. Okay, and I'm going to group that for, well, actually, I don't even need to group that. I'm going to go Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then I hold the Shift key down on the next circle, and I'm going to bring that right over like that. Now, while that is selected, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to select these two items right here. And I could go over here and where this says rotate selected object, but it's a lot easier. The shortcut is R for rotate. So we click R. I want it to rotate on that center right there, and we want it to rotate 90 degrees. Click apply. It's going the wrong way. We're just going to keep it till it goes right there. Perfect. Okay. Close this. Now I'm going to hit Control V again, and notice what happens. Made another copy here. So I'm going to hold my Shift key, select that circle, center the objects, there it goes. That doesn't have to be rotated. Next, I'm going to go Control V again, hold the Shift key down, next circle, over it goes. But this one, we're going to rotate, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down, deselect this one right there, and I'm going to either rotate it or just put R like I did, and we're going to click this for the center, 90 again, apply, here we go. Control V to paste, hold the Shift key down, close this, and center. That's where we want it. And then we're going to do the same, Control V to paste, same technique. Select this circle and center that. And then this one, what is going to rotate? So I'm going to hold my Shift key down and I'm going to click that little circle in the middle. R to rotate, right around the center there. And let's check the -90 and see what happens here. I'm going to click apply. Perfect, that's where we want it. And then just one more and we're going to be done with this to the top already. I'll close this. Control V for our last paste. Hold the Shift key down, click that circle, and I'm going to go over here and center objects. And just that quick, we have already created our top. So let's take a look at that. We got perimeter, we got 3 different colors there. Okay, that is looking great. So now we're going to be starting to design for the bottom. Now, even though we're designing for the bottom, we're going to stay on the top just for a minute. And so I want to take off the visibility of the perimeter top, take that off, and I want to create another rectangle. And I'm go over here, and this one is going to be 2.5 on the X and 2.25 on the height. And we're going to put it any place we want right here. This is good right there. Now what happened here? I'm going to Control Z. I'm going to go up here and take off my perimeter. And I want to add a new layer, which I want to be my active layer. And we're going to put that is going to be pocketing bottom. And we'll give it a nice green color. And we're going to have that as our active layer. Now you notice what happened. Even though I had turned off the perimeter top, if I don't deselect that, everything I do is going to be going to that layer. So I'm going to just get rid of those two for now. Go back into my rectangle, 2.5 on the width and 2.25 okay on the height. That's fine. I'm just going to click right here. Now that I've created my rectangle, I want to center it on one of these circles, but instead of center it right down there, I'm going to go all the way to the end on this side, and I'm going to now center that. And there's a reason why. It's because remember, we're going to flip this. So once it's flipped, I want to be able to copy that array across to the from right to left to right without having to use a negative number. So now I'm going to go over here and I want to right click on this and I want to move to other side. So now I'm going to flip over here. I'm going to take off the other ones, even though they're visible. There, you can't do anything. I can click here and nothing's going to happen. So this is just for positioning so you can see where things are going to line up. I could click up the perimeter top, everything would be there, but now it's just going to confuse me. So I'm going to click all these off right here. Okay, so now we're ready to work on this particular piece. Now what we're going to want to create, and let's take a look at our samples here, and let's go here to go right in here. And if you notice right here, we want to have this part cut out and all this pocketed out. The reason why is because you can, these blocks are going to be used for not only for the jig, the T-slot jig that is going to be done in exercise 14.2, but also when you remove your spoil board from any desktop or desktop max, these will fit right in the aluminum T-slot, so it has a dual purpose. So let's get back to our drawing right here, and we're going to want to make a similar design here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and notice the colors changes. It tells me I've got a line on top of a line. And now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to transform that line. I want to do everything from the center. We're going to be cutting that channel on the T-slot jig is going to be 0.3125. So I've done some experimenting, and 0.31 is a good width that will work perfectly. I need to unlink these first though. 0.31, and I want the length to be slightly longer than what we had originally. So it doesn't matter what I put. Let's say I put 2.7 and click enter. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. on that. And then I'm going to, while I've got that selected, I'm just going to close this, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then we're going to go transform right there. This one, we want a gap of 0.85. That's going to be my X, 0.85. And I want the height to be a little bit taller than that 0.31, so we'll say 0.8. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. I'm going to close that. And now we're going to get those handy little scissors, those interactive trim the vectors, and we want to rejoin them. So we're going to start cutting this out. I want this to be a space right here, perfect here. And this is what we're going to want to have. We want this piece. This is critical right here. We don't want to cut those out. So now this is going to be the area that we're going to pocket out. I'm going to click F to fit everything in, and now I'm going to space these out. We're going to go to our array copy. And this time, instead of doing an offset, we're going to do a gap, and that gap is going to be at 0.6. We want 7 of these, and we're going to copy that. Okay, and they're perfectly centered. Okay, so the last thing we need is we're going to need the vectors to cut this out. And so we're going to make another rectangle. Now I don't have to do it from the top because now I have something to center on right here. And so this one is going to be, on these, it's going to be square, 2.25 by 2.25. And I'm going to click that right there. And I'm going to right click this and I want to move to new layer. And we'll click that new layer right there. And we want to name that layer cut out perimeter bottom. And we'll give it another color here, bright green. And we want this new layer to be active. So we'll click OK. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select this, hold the Shift key down and select the area I'm going to pocket out. And we're going to center that perfectly. That's what we want right there. Good. That's going to work out fine. And so just to make it easier for me to see, I'm going to take off my pocketing bottom. That just leaves me with this one. And I'm going to do another array. And this time, it's going to be a gap of 0.85. Now you wonder, why did you come up with all these things? Well, it took a lot of experimenting to come up with this. So this is something you can experiment with as well if you want to change the design on these stop blocks. But 0.85, we're going to copy that. Okay, and again, there we have it. Now, if I wanted to select everything here and then check to see if they're centered, no movement. Okay, so everything is looking good. So now I'm going to see there's what our bottom is going to look like. And then as I click on these, notice you can lightly see where those are at. So what that's going to do is as these are turned, everything's going to be cut out square. Now, even though this is going to have a bevel cut, the way that that top is with the V-bit, it's all going to be cut square, so every block is at 2.25 inches square. So now that's perfect. Let's just flip up here at the top. You can see right there. You can see now you can lightly see the bottom and the top. If I want to select something here, it is selectable. So now we're finished with our design, and we, for sure, I should have done this much earlier, but we definitely want to save that, save it to your support of the file. We're going to save it in the Shopbot curriculum file, and that's going to go into our right up here, two-sided machining. And we're going to put two-sided machining stop blocks and click save. And that should have been done way in the beginning. Okay, so that's it for now. Then we're going to be starting up with our tool pathing on the next tutorial video. Thank you.